Hi, today I want to talk about how to create a calculator for value-based purchasing program in Tableau. So first of all, I just want to point out that all the data in this video demo are fake. So I have no intention to release any PHI here, and they are all fake data. Or there are other some data are public release data, so you can find it online on the CMS website. So there's no real data here. There's no PHI here. So that's the first and most important thing I want to point out in this video. And the second thing is that for this video, I'm assuming if you are watching this video, I'm assuming you are very familiar with the hospital, with the VBP program, and how what's the methodology for this program, and how they calculate the score, or somehow familiar with how they calculate the scores and the incentive penalty payment for this program. So basically, this calculator is help you to predict that given a clinical outcome, what will be your hospital's incentive or penalty payment in this value-based purchasing program. So I will show you the how to this calculator and how I created this calculator to track the performance for over past for this project. So I already hide some of the parts here, since you already see some empty space here. That's because that's our some data, some internal data. So I already hide those, and all the numbers here are fake, or they are public released by the CMS already. So that you can that is already it's already released online. So first of all, let me demonstrate the function for this calculator. So for example, let's take a look at CLABSI. So CLABSI in this program is CLABSI SIR from the NHSN. So for this measure, is lower the better, since the lower infection means the better performance. So for example, as I switch to CLABSI, and then so let's say, so the measure score is just the observed SIR. So for example, I have a 0.8 SIR for this CLABSI, and then you can see that my measure impacts is actually negative 0.33. So now let's make the number lower. So let's say if my infection rate is lower, then you can see that I'm starting to making positive, or I'm getting like incentive payment from this program. Okay, so some other thing is that you will have a benchmark and threshold from the CMS, and then you will also have a baseline. The baseline is your own hospital performance in the previous time period. So it depends on the hospital. So I have hide it in this demo. Also, you have your IPPS payment that depends on the hospital. So these data are all fake. So they are all made up data. And then you also have a Vbp contribution percentage. So this is a public release, and then it is about 2% every in the fiscal year 2020. In FFY 2020, and then you will also have a linear payout function. So all these two numbers, you can find it from the CMS website, and then it will be fixed for all hospital in this program. So as I have demonstrated this function here, and then you can see that when I have, let's say, when I lower my SIR, all my on the measure level, I have a positive gain in here, but in my domain level, I'm still like have a negative payment here. And for my total impact on this entire program, I'm still making positive income from this program. Again, all these data are fake, so it's just for demonstration, but it is all meaningless in terms of content. So here I'm going to show you for how I created in terms of the calculation. So first of all, this so my data in the backend is row level. So I will have one domain, and then one one measure and then one score, and also for the threshold, baseline, and then the benchmark on the same row. So my backend data is one row per measure, and then I have different performance, actual performance, threshold, baseline, and benchmark on each row. So and then it is kind of like a it's a long format for my backend data. So first of all, for this measure score, so this is the parameter that I type in the parameter. So this is the score that I can alter here, and then so this video is assuming that you are familiar with the methodology. So you can review the methodology first before you come before you watch this video to create the calculator in Tableau. So first of all, given a score, and then you are going I have two calculations here. One is to calculate the achievement points, and then the other one is the improvement points. So the achievement point is to compare with the top 10% of the hospital in this entire program, and the improvement points is that you are comparing with your own performance in the baseline period. So and then the final points earned is that whichever is highest from these 2 points. So I can quickly show you what's my calculation. So you should be able to find this calculation online for these two, since they're very easy, and then it's I already saw these calculation online in lots of demonstration, but just no one talk about how to calculate the measure impact, domain impact, and the total impacts here. So I will show you. I will show how you calculate them. What's the methodology for all these, and then I'll also show you all the calculation here. So that's the achievement points, and then the improvement point is just comparing with the baseline, and so after you calculate 2 points, and then the final points for this specific measure is that whichever is highest from these two. So again, this is comparing with with top 10% of the hospital. This is comparing yourself in the baseline period, and then to see whether you are better than top 10% or whether you are better than yourself, you are improving. So this, and also Vbp is the only program that rewards the hospital that you are making improvement rather than purely comparing with other hospital. So that's another thing for this Vbp program. And now let's take a look in how you calculate the income. So I have also have this presentation, and then I also hide all the numbers. So it might look a little bit weird in the format because I removed some of the information here. So first of all, let's again, I'm assuming you are familiar with the program. So you will have a domain score for each domain, and then there will be a domain weight per program in different fiscal year. This might change. The weight might change in different program. So the total performance scores, which is just the sum of the domain weight times your domain score. So that will give you like a number that is between 0 and 100%. And you will also have a VBP payment. So your payment depends on the score that your hospital achieved, multiplied by the slope and then the contribution. The contribution is what your hospital contribute into the program. So basically just what your hospital paid to this program. And then the VBP payment is that what the program is paying back to your hospital, so that the net income for your hospital is just what the program is paying you to what you pay to the program. And then what the program is paying you would depends on your score. So the higher your score, that means you will get a higher payment. So that is like the overall income for your entire hospital. So now that income, so now we'll drill down that income for your entire hospital into different domain, into the domain where there are 4 domains in this entire program, and then within each domain there are multiple measures in each domain. Okay. Another thing is that the VBP program is also a budget neutral program. So that means for the CMS program, for this program, whatever this program collects, this program will redistribute the money that they collect to the hospital. So let's say, so as you can see from this graph here, so let's say hospital A is getting like 51%. Let's say there are only 3 hospitals participate in this program, and then this is the performance score for for these 3 hospitals, and then each of them contribute $1,000 to this program, and then as shown in this calculation, the payout for different hospital is based on their performance. So let's say, for example, hospital A, so the program is paying back hospital A like $500, hospital B $400, and then $400. And now you multiply by the slope, which is the slope that is calculated based on after the program collect all hospital, and then they will generate a slope to adjust the payment. So that means the program will actually pay to different hospital based on after the adjustment. So even the hospital contribute $1,000 to this program, but the program is actually paying $1,172 back to hospital A. So the difference is the net income in here. But for hospital B and C, the hospital, each of them pays $1,000 to the program, but they only get $900 back. So that is actually a penalty for them that is not is not having a good performance. While this hospital have a better performance, so that's why this hospital receive more than it contribute to the program. So that is what the incentive payments means for this program. So again, if you have a higher performance scores, you will very likely, comparing with other hospitals, you are very likely to get more than what you pay to this program. But if you are not performing very good, you will probably get paid less than what you pay to this program. So so feel free to pause the video and also pause and to take a look to make sure that you understand the program and the methodology here. So now we are just talking about the high level, just on the institution level, and now we need to drill down on the domain level. So feel free to pause the video and make sure you understand step by step as we go down at different level. And here, so basically now we are going to talk about domain level. So so for example, for fiscal year 2020, there are 4 domains, and each of them are equally weighted, so it's 25% on each domain. And then the domain score is actually just the domain payment is just the total payment multiplied by the domain's weights. So basically, so you have a total payment that the program paid to your hospital, and then now you just break down to different domains. So you multiply. So basically, you just multiply the domain's weight, and the contribution is also what you contribute to the program, and then for each domain, you just multiply by the weight. So let's say you contribute $1,000 to the program, and then for each domain just contribute like $250 to per domain. So and then the domain impact is just the domain payment minus the domain contribution. So which is very similar to the overall. This is just you multiply by the domain weight to break down into domain level. And The overall score is just so the domain score here, the unweighted domain score is calculated here. So for example, in this domain, there are 8 measures, and this is the measure, the scores that you calculated for this one. So this is the final points. So let's say there are 8 final points, and then here is your final result. And then each of them, the highest, the maximum is 10 points. So that the sum of your scores divided by 80. And then that will give you a percentage, and that percentage is your unweighted domain score. And then from here you have all the variables that you can calculate your domain payment, domain contribution, and domain impact. Okay, so that's it. That's how you break down from your institutional payment to your domain payment. And for each domain, there are also different number of measures here. And now it's actually the same thing. It's just you break down the domain contribution and the domain payment into measure level. So basically, you just multiply by the measure weight. And for this one, it's just like, for example, you earn 8 points. You earn 8 points. Let's say, for example, you earn 4 points out of 10. So in over here, your domain, your measure payment is just 4 divided by 10, so that is like 40% of the measure contribution for this let's say for CLAPSI here. So your CLAPSI is only you only get like 40%, and then over here, and then from there you can calculate the measure impact. So again, so you have a payment that is payment minus contribution on your institutional level, and then break down to the domain level, and then go down to the measure level. So basically, that's how you calculate your income per institution, per domain, per measure. And then again, here is just the formula to calculate your achievement point and improvement point, and whichever is higher will be your final points to calculate your calculate your income. So basically from here, and then you can go backward to sum up all the numbers, and then you should sum up to your total impact, net your income for your hospital. So here, so and then you will also have, you will need to, so for these 2 points, you are also comparing with the achievement, the baseline, and your benchmark. So these these are all CMS released data. So so if you look at the QNet or the CMS, you will be able to find all these numbers for different measure. So the benchmark just top 10%. So that's achievement points, just to checking if you are better than top 10% of the hospital. And the achievement points is just comparing, there's a 50 percentile and then the baseline period. So basically you're just comparing with either yourself or either with other hospital. And now moving backward all the way from the bottom to the top, you will have you can calculate your overall income for your entire hospital. Okay. So now you are familiar with the methodology on the payment, and now I'm just going to talk about the technical parts in the Tableau, how you calculate it. So this is what you predict. So that by altering this this number here, you can predict what your scores here, and then based on these two calculations, and then you will get a final score. And then now let's move backward from from your individual measure all the way back to measure, to domain, and then to your institutional level. Okay, so I will just show you, I already show you the two other the final points. It's just the maximum of the two calculation. And then we have this measure impact. So again, measure impact, just measure contribution, measure payment minus measure contribution. You just what the program pays you and what you pay to the program, and then the difference will be either your gain or your loss. So now let's take a look at the measure impact. So it might be easy to understand the methodology, but when you implement it in Tableau, it will be pretty a little bit complicated, since I spend a lot of I spend like a lot of time revising this dashboard for the past few years when I'm starting this dashboard. So basically, I'm just implementing what I just what I just show you in what I just explained in this PowerPoint. So basically, you just need to make it happen in Tableau. So you will have an impact. Since my backend data is each row is a measure. So far I can just calculate the measure impact for each measure. And then after measure impact, and then I can calculate the domain unweighted score. So basically, that's just sum of the final points divided by the sum of the maximum I can get. So let's say 8. So sum of 8 final points divided by 80, which is if there are 8 measures in this domain. So predicted domain unweighted score here. Yeah, it's just a sum of 8, sum of the point earned divided by the maximum you can get. And then predicted domain impact. Predicted domain impact. So yeah, basically just the payment minus the contribution. And then the predicted total performance score. It's the same thing. So as you keep, so here when you're talking about measure, so now I'm talking about the technical parts in Tableau. So when you are working on the measure level, we are still doing the row level calculation. But when you keep going up to the higher level, let's say the domain and then the institutional level, you need to take the sum on per domain level, or the sum per measure level. So that's, you need to use the level of detail to achieve this purpose. And so when you calculate the domain and the VBP and the institutional level, you will need to use level of detail to sum up to sum on to so per domain, and then take the sum of the score, and then per institution sum the domain score. So that's, you need to use level of detail to fix on the level that you need the calculation for. And there's one more thing. It's just that for, I think it's the safety domain. One of the measure in the safety domain is actually a weighted average for the. It's the weighted average for two other measure. So here, so that's you need to. So basically, just for these two domain, the actual calculation is that your performance score in one measure multiplied by the number of cases plus your performance score in the second in another measure multiplied by the cases in this domain, in this measure, and then the sum of that divided by the number of the cases from these two measures. So if you're not familiar with, if you don't quite understand what I'm talking about, maybe you can go back to take a look and to look at the CMS methodology for this entire program, and then you understand what this calculation, or what I was talking about for that specific measure. So that is the only thing for the safety measure that you need to pay. You need to take you need to do some little extra adjustment to calculate the domain score. So that is just the weighted average for those two measures. And then I think in the safety domain, there's also, I think it's in another domain, there's also another measure that there it is not calculated by the achievement or improvement points. It is just a sum of something that for that measure. So make sure you go through the CMS, the criteria. Make sure you understand the methodology first before you create this calculator for predictive analysis. So this is all I'm going to talk about for this Tableau dashboard. And after you understand the calculation, there's still a lot. Let's say how you connect your table to when you select a different when you select different measure. So for example, when I type in 0 for this county, of course I have no infection. That means I get the highest score, and then I get positive income for measure and domain and institutional level. So there are more you need to understand to create this calculator. To connect whether different physical years and what's your hospital payment, what's what the function factor means, and then what the contribution percentage. So make sure you review the methodology to understand the methodology first, and then try to create this calculator. And then there are also a lot of Tableau technique here on the level of detail. Things you need to understand in order to create this calculator here. So I think a while ago it really takes me a long time to figure out this calculator. So I would say this is a pretty complicated a project to replicate the Vbp calculator especially in Tableau. So make sure you understand the methodology, and or you can pause the video to take a look at the calculation in this video. So thank you very much, and let me know if you have any question.